On paper, they barely existed, yet these ghost units saved lives, sparked uprisings, and bent battlefields with nothing but deception, forged identification, and secrets buried for decades. From inflatable armies that fooled the Nazis to three-person teams dropped into enemy-occupied Europe, America's hidden military built entire organizations nobody was meant to notice. But who decides what the public is never supposed to know, and how far do the shadows really go? In early 1944, a new kind of American unit landed in Europe, not with firepower, but with paint, canvas, and wire. Officially, they were the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. Unofficially, they became known as the Ghost Army. Their orders were simple in concept, but breathtaking in execution. Make the enemy believe entire divisions were massing where in reality only a handful of men stood. The unit counted just over 1,100 soldiers, but their illusions could convince German intelligence that 30,000 troops were on the move. Artists from New York and Philadelphia, engineers and sound technicians worked side by side. They hauled inflatable tanks, full-size M4 Sherman tanks made of rubber, weighing less than a single real tread. In under 30 minutes, a muddy field could become a convincing armored camp. Trucks, artillery, and even jeeps appeared overnight, each crafted to fool enemy scouts and pilots. When rain threatened to betray the ruse, artists painted fake mud on the seams, blending the decoys into the landscape. Sound crews rolled out massive speakers and played recordings of armored columns and convoys captured by Bell Labs and broadcast across the French countryside. These sounds carried up to 15 miles, tricking enemy ears into hearing divisions that did not exist. Meanwhile, radio operators mimicked the chatter and Morse code of real units, creating a web of fake signals that German intelligence tracked like shadows. The payoff was real. In operations like Viersen, German forces shifted defenses to counter phantoms, leaving the true Allied advances unopposed. Every illusion bought time, saved lives, and proved that sometimes the most powerful weapon is a well-crafted lie. 3 men dropped from the night sky, carrying nothing that would give them away. Each Jedberg team was built from a simple formula: a leader, a radio operator, and a courier. American, British, French, sometimes Dutch or Norwegian, these were the Allies' smallest units, but their reach extended across occupied Europe. Their mission began with a parachute jump into fields or forests, landing near villages where trust could be as dangerous as any patrol. Every Jedberg carried a radio and with it a poem. Lines of verse became ciphers scrambled into coded messages that slipped past German intercepts and linked scattered resistance cells to London. They moved in plain clothes, blending with locals, never staying anywhere long enough to leave a pattern. Their supplies, explosives, pistols, and maps came in canisters dropped from the same planes. With these tools, they taught partisans how to cut rail lines, sabotage bridges, and ambush convoys. In training and in the field, they traded lessons in tradecraft and timing, turning small teams into force multipliers. Sabotage was often the point, but timing and local knowledge made it possible. In August 1944, Team James worked with the French resistance to destroy the Pont-au-Beau Bridge. Wehrmacht reports recorded a 48-hour standstill, railcars stranded, and confusion spreading along the front. That moment shows the real impact these tiny teams could have on a much larger campaign. A single Jedberg team could set off a chain reaction. One blown bridge delayed a column, which delayed a counterattack, which bought time for the Allied advance. The Germans searched for these ghosts, but most never saw them. The Jedbergs did not win battles by force. They made the enemy fight shadows, and in the chaos, the real army moved forward. In the heart of Cold War Berlin, a handful of American soldiers blended into city life with identities as ordinary as any locals. They were Green Berets, but their uniforms spent more time in closets than on their backs. Their real work hid behind layers of forged paperwork, driver licenses, work badges, even ration cards, each one crafted to match a civilian cover story. Every detail had to withstand scrutiny because discovery meant more than arrest. It risked international crisis. Across West Berlin, hidden caches waited in safe houses and basements. In 1990, after the wall fell, German police uncovered some of these stockpiles. Crates packed with ammunition, demolition charges, and field radios like PRC-77 all sealed away for a day that never came. Some caches contained forged documents so convincing they could pass any checkpoint. Operators rehearsed dead drops in shadowed alleys, memorized surveillance routines, and lived with the knowledge that a single mistake could bring the world to the brink. The constant tension of double lives left its mark. Each Green Beret carried the first burden of knowing he might be the first line or the first casualty if the city erupted. For decades, their stories stayed locked behind false names and padlocked doors, only surfacing when the caches finally did. Two men moved through the dark, each carrying a burden that weighed nearly 70 pounds. Inside their packs was a weapon built for denial, not conquest, a special atomic demolition munition. This was the logic of the green light teams. If a Soviet invasion broke across Europe, these pairs would slip behind enemy lines, reach a bridge or a mountain pass, and set a timer on a portable nuclear device. The blast would erase the route, buying hours or days for NATO forces to regroup. But the cost was written into the plan. Survival odds were measured in single digits. Army studies from the mid-1960s estimated that fallout, enemy patrols, and the sheer force of the explosion left little hope for escape. Some commanders called it pre-planned martyrdom. The devices themselves were engineered to be carried by one man, but the two-person rule was absolute. Each team trained to arm, place, and if possible, run. Most knew the odds. The existence of these missions stayed locked in classified files for decades, a secret shadowing every war plan that dared to cross the nuclear line. After Munich, the Army quietly built Blue Light, an interim counter-terror team that was small and secret, rehearsing rescues the regular Army could not handle. Blue Light's existence was always meant to be brief. When Delta Force took over, its operators and hard-won lessons disappeared into the shadows, leaving almost no official trace. Another crisis revealed a different flaw. In 1980, Operation Eagle Claw collapsed in the Iranian desert, not from enemy fire, but from radio chaos. Army, Air Force, and Navy teams could not talk to each other. Transcripts from that night are a tangle of confusion. Negative copy. Say again, frequency. PRC-77 were not syncing. The Joint Communications Unit emerged from that failure, tasked with making sure elite teams could always connect, regardless of uniform or encryption. Their success is measured by silence. If the radios work, their name is forgotten. Some missions needed more than words. Sea Spray pilots flew unmarked planes with tail numbers tied to front companies, evolving into flight concepts and then aviation technology office as missions shifted. Intelligence support activity, always under new names, tracked targets and erased its own trail. These units formed the hidden backbone, enabling deniable strikes that never made the news. Dense jungle swallowed the sound of boots and the crackle of radios. MACVSOG teams slipped across invisible borders into Laos and Cambodia, where their missions did not officially exist. Each patrol carried just enough supplies for days, sometimes weeks, and every step meant risking ambush or capture by North Vietnamese units who knew the terrain better than any map. The job was to find enemy supply lines, the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and sabotage them with explosives, mines, or sheer disruption. Operation Bright Light sent hatchet forces racing to rescue downed pilots or prisoners, often following only fragments of intercepted enemy chatter. Mission logs stamped off limits, recorded casualties so high that some recon teams faced a 100% loss rate. For these operators, survival meant moving unseen, fighting outnumbered, and knowing that even a successful mission might never be acknowledged outside a locked file. Congressional hearings in the 1970s pulled secrecy into the open, forcing leaders to answer for missions that never officially happened. Committees like the Church and Pike investigations demanded explanations, sifting through redacted files and closed-door testimonies. Veterans who had spent decades under orders of silence found themselves fighting for recognition, sometimes just to prove their service existed. Many faced years of denied benefits, their records buried under false names or missing paperwork. The cost of deniable war lingered in the lives of those who served, shaping oversight reforms and raising questions about how much a nation should ask of its quietest soldiers. For some, the only record of their sacrifice was a story told behind closed doors. Even today, entire units operate in the shadows, classified, renamed, or erased before the public ever learns they existed. As new threats emerge, secrecy remains a strategic weapon. The real question is this: how many stories are still unfolding, hidden in plain sight? Share your thoughts below.